Ooh, glamorous. For the best that it was gone. That's going to take a while. Hi, I'm Sock Marionette, also known as Bargain Counter Argument, and I am a middle-aged lady in a tiara talking about books. And it's possible that I have a project cart that is completely filled with things that I need to attend to. It's also possible that just below the project cart are bags of books I picked up at library sales yesterday that I need to catalog and shelve. Yeah, it's also possible that there's a piece of furniture I'd like to assemble. Am I doing any of those things today? No, I'm not. I'm doing a tag video. Now, this is a video I saw Tara of Tara Talks Books do. And it's a video, it's a tag rather, that has been kicking around for a while in various incarnations. It's essentially, I'm trying to decide what to do with my hair. I have a hair tie, so I have options. Anyway, off to the side, ooh, glamorous. Continuity is not going to be a main feature of this particular video. And anyway, so yeah, Tara posted the video. It's a tag that's been around for a while in various incarnations. It's essentially a bookish scavenger hunt. And there are 20 prompts on this particular tag. And I'm going to do it the way Tara did, which is she read a prompt and then looked for the book, which should pause the video while she did that. And so I'm mostly going to do that. However, there were a couple of prompts I remembered, and they were books that I knew I would be more likely to find downstairs. So I did do a couple of those in advance. And it may take a while. I mean, not from your perspective, because I'll be pausing the video, but I have books in almost every room of my house. I don't have any in the cellar or the bathrooms because those are damp environments for books. But the rest of the house, I even have some in the attic. That's where I keep my Christmas books and also my Harlequin Presents dupes, which, I'm always down for sending them to somebody for a buddy read. Okay. Since I remembered the first prompt and grabbed that book downstairs. The first prompt was find a book with deckled edges. I do not care for deckled edges. I think that they don't really add much to a book, and they make it harder to turn the pages, and especially harder to flip back and forth if you've a mind to do that. It won't put me off reading a book, but it's not something that I particularly value or seek out. Okay, however, I do have a book with deckled edges, and that is Playland by John Gregory Dunn. And I haven't read this book yet. It is a tough, mordantly funny, splendidly layered novel about Hollywood in the 1940s and America in the 1990s, about fame and its excesses, honor and personal betrayal, and a 50-year search for what may or may not be the truth. So anyway, it's about a child star. Anyway. And I've read other things by John Gregory Dunn, so I'm not completely new to his work. Okay, now here's where I pause the video, go find out what the second clue is, and try to fulfill it. Okay, that didn't take too long. The second prompt was three or more people on the cover, and I actually grabbed two books for this, but one is a sequel to the other. They're both step backs, and they are very sudsy wealthy family melodramas from, I believe, the 80s. 88 for the first one. And 91 for the second. Okay, so this is like kind of the big explosion of this kind of novel with Judith Krantz and then the rise of Dallas and Dynasty and those kinds of shows. I am totally into this. The first book is This Far from Paradise. It's by Philip Shelby. And there are no people on the cover. However, the step back. Woo! Look at this. Look at her. I guess does the step back count? Maybe I should find another book. Anyway, let's get my glasses out. Oh, this is exciting. So you've got these two dudes, this older dude, the back of this dude, who might be one of these two dudes, I'm not sure, and this lady, and this lady. I don't know if they're the same person or not, but it's very groovy. Very groovy indeed. And the sequel is called Dreamweavers. Flowers on the cover. Party in the Step Back. And this is like, we've got a dude in a hat, another mysterious dude in a hat, 3 ladies, a casino, the Capitol Dome, an embrace. It's got it all. However, I probably should find one that directly has 3 people on the cover itself rather than the step back, so I will do that now. So in case you're saying, Sock, a step back is not a cover. You're right. So I found a book, and this is one I picked up yesterday at a library sale. I've read it at least a couple of times, but now I have my own copy. And that is The Shining by Stephen King. And there you have Jack Torrance, Wendy Torrance, and Danny Torrance. And is the Overlook Hotel itself also a character in the book? Maybe. Okay, and then while I was up, I also looked at and fetched books for the next prompt, which is a book based on another fictional story. And I have 2 because one, again, is a sequel to the other, and that is Yesterday's Sun by A.C. Crispin and, what's this one called? Time for Yesterday by A.C. Crispin, which are Star Trek novels. They're not novelizations of existing episodes, but they are based on Star Trek. And these are specifically based on a particular episode of the original series. So there we go. Time to pause and find out the next prompt. Okay, so the next prompt was a book with exactly 10 letters in the title. I seem to recall that for this one, Tara did My Fake Rake by Eva Lee. I have a copy of that book, but I am only slightly copying off Tara's paper. I'm not copying everything. So I picked up another book at a recent library sale that has 10 letters in the title, and I haven't read it yet, and that is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I understand that he's a hockey player, she's a figure skater, and they're both in college. So I'm a little iffy on college romance, but it was like 50 cents, so I'm not going to argue with that. And it's a very, very, very good copy. It's floppy, but the spine's not broken, so yeah. Pause for the next prompt. This is going to be a lot of fun because when I'm pausing, I'm actually stopping the video, and each one is a separate clip. So that's going to be fun to convert for editing purposes. That's going to take a while. Oh well, I'll have plenty of drinks and snacks, and I actually enjoy editing. I just don't like waiting for conversions. Behind the scenes. The next prompt is the title begins and ends with the same letter. And I found this, Those Who Come the Last by Nikki Huntsman Smith. And this is book 5, it says. I think it's the 5th and final book of the Troop of Shadows Chronicles. It's as near as I can tell, self-published, kind of global pandemic series, which I believe predates the actual global pandemic. Let's see if I can find a copyright date. No, 2022, but this is the 5th book, so I don't know when she wrote it. I have not started this series yet. It was one where I found the entire series at a library sale, and again, it was not very expensive at all. I think it was like 50 cents a book, or maybe even less than that. So that's that prompt. Okay, we're moving right along. The next prompt is a mass market paperback. And since I would think that probably at least 80% of the books I own are mass market paperbacks, maybe even 90, I just picked one that has a particularly exciting step back, and that is Enslaved by Virginia Henley. And I had this out because I was Team Time Traveler in the recent Ever After-thon, readathon. And I was going to read this. I wasn't going to exactly. It was a potential because it involves time travel. I didn't get to it though. However, it does have this very eye-catching cover and a step back. This is Victor Godino, who as an artist says he loves the grotesque. So you can see this very bold use of color that kind of fits in with his style. So that's my mass market paperback. The next is a book that the author published under a pseudonym. And I'm going back to the well because I have Thinner by Richard Bachman. And I think this is an old enough edition that at the time it was not well known that Richard Bachman was actually Stephen King. He even has a different dude posing for his author photo. I remember my dad reading this when it first came out, and I asked him what it was like, and he kind of described the plot a little bit, and he says, it reads kind of like Stephen King. He says, it's not by Stephen King, but it sure reads like it. And then later, of course, somebody did the work and found out and figured out that it really was Stephen King. Stephen King had started publishing under the Richard Bachman name, and some of it was old works that he had written in the past, and some of it, I think it was all older works. Like he published The Long Walk under that name. That was a book I think that he wrote between high school and college that didn't come out until like sometime in the late 70s or early 80s. What happened was that Stephen King got a lot of success with Carrie and some subsequent novels, and he was starting to feel kind of like, do they like my writing or do they like Stephen King's writing as like a separate entity from himself? So he started publishing under the name Richard Bachman just to see if those books would sell as well. And I think the only people who knew that it was really by him were his publisher, his editor, and his wife. And I will say that at this point in time, and I'm not telling tales out of school, this is something Stephen King himself talks about a lot. Most of his creative decisions and decisions in general, business decisions, creative decisions, were being fueled by drugs, especially cocaine. So that may have been a factor. But this is like one of the few Stephen King books that I actually haven't read yet. Because when my dad was reading it, he described the plot, which is about a Romany woman who puts a curse on a guy that he's going to get thinner. And at first it's great. And then he just keeps getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And it didn't sound like the kind of thing I was interested in reading. So I actually have never gotten back to it. But I found this at a library sale. So I picked it up for like $1. I mean, it's available in libraries as well, so I could have gotten it for free, but I'm kind of trying to build up my hardcover Stephen King collection. That's why I also have that very good condition copy of The Shining. Okay, and now it's time for another prompt. Okay, so the next one was to find a book with a character's name in the title, and so I found this book. I got my hands on a copy of this book when I was in junior high, and I probably was too young to read sort of that sort of thing, but whatever, man. I have since found out that it was the first book of a trilogy, so I'm going to reread it and then decide if I want to get the other 2 books. Anyway, it is called Purity's Passion by Jeanette Seymour, and this was published in 1977, and the sequel is Purity's Ecstasy, and the final book is Purity's Shame. So I haven't read it since junior high, so that's over 40 years. So yeah, but her name is actually Purity. I don't make these things up, you know. Next prompt. The next one, I'm going to cheat a little bit because it's to find a book with 2 maps. You know, a lot of novels that have maps in them, they just have like the one map. Well, I decided to interpret that as 2 or more maps. And I have this book that is called Map with the subtitle Exploring the World. And it's just got all of these beautiful historic maps. Here is a map that has been woven into a carpet or a tapestry. Let me see what it says. This is an Iraq war rug. And it is... Okay, this is actually from 2000... Well, it is about the war that started in 2003. If you look very closely, you can see elements of modern warfare in the outline of Iraq. Let's see. I could just sit here and flip through it all day. Here is one that shows altitude and vegetation of the United States, which dates from 1943. So it's just a whole bunch of stuff like that. very, very gorgeous. Okay, next prompt. Now we have a book based, not book based on a TV show. We already did that. A book that has been turned into a television show. And for that one, I have got Wool by Hugh Howey, which is the first book in the Silo series. The Silo series was actually a series of short stories and novellas that he then integrated into sort of it reads more like a novel than a collection of short stories, and there are some continuing plot threads and relationships. Anyway, so this is Wool, and I don't remember the names of the other two books. I think they were Silo and Dust, or Dust and Silo. Anyway, overall it's known as the Silo series, and under that name it has been adapted into a TV show, like I said, called Silo. I have read all of the books. In fact, I recently did a reread just a couple of weeks ago, well, a month or so ago. And I haven't watched the TV show. I haven't watched the TV show yet, but I have plans to. Next up. Okay, I almost got stumped on this one, but it's to find a book that was written by somebody who was originally famous for something other than writing. And I do have my eye on a couple of celebrity memoirs, Barbra Streisand's and Cher's, but I don't have them out yet. And the other day I found out through shelf browsing that Meg Tilly, the actor, has written a couple of books, but they didn't sound particularly interesting to me. So, but when I went through my stuff, I realized that I have a whole stack of books by Emily Carr. And Emily Carr was a Canadian painter. She was one of the group of 7. And she painted, here is a book, Hundreds and Thousands, The Journal of an Artist, which has one of her paintings on the cover. She was originally from Victoria. And I think she lived in Victoria pretty much all of her life. I don't know. And she painted a lot of things on Vancouver Island and around the Lower Mainland. And you can see like the giant trees and so on. And when she was just a teenager, she took her sketchbook and I guess her painting supplies as well. And she went to live among a First Nations tribe. And she ended up writing a book, an award-winning book, as it turned out, about the experience. I think she wrote it much later afterward, but it was called Clewick, and that's one of her paintings inspired by those experiences. So that is Emily Carr, originally famous as an artist, and then started writing books as well. Okay, the next prompt was a book with a clock on the cover, and this was pretty easy because I had one on my project card, and that is Timeless, a time travel anthology with stories by Linda Lale Miller, Diane Bain, Anna Jennett, also known as Hannah Howell, and Elaine Crawford. And I read this for the Ever After-a-thon. It's on the project cart because I want to take its picture for Instagram, which I haven't done that yet, so that's in my inbox, as it were. But as you can see, there is a clock on the cover, and since I just did the Ever After-a-thon and haven't taken pictures for all the books I read for it yet, it's not the only book on my project cart that has a clock on the cover. Moving on. Okay, the hairstyle has changed because this turned into some serious business, and I actually did have to go up to the attic because something got misshelved and got in a box that it wasn't supposed to be in. And this is for the next prompt, which is a book of poetry, and I have Made Flesh by Craig Arnold. That's Craig Arnold. Now, I actually have this, and I believe it's... Oh, I thought it was signed. It's not signed. But I have this because Craig Arnold was a poet and a professor of poetry. And around about 2007 or 2008, I don't know, Facebook suggested that I might be he might be somebody I knew, or he might know me. And it was interesting because Facebook came to that conclusion because we both went to the same high school, although he was a couple of years ahead of me, 3 years ahead of me, I think. And he went to the same university for undergraduate that I have a graduate degree from. So Facebook was like, oh, they have these two schools in common. They maybe know each other. Well, I got in touch with him, even though I knew the dates were wrong. And Craig Arnold was also the name of a kid who was my science lab partner in 8th grade. It was a 7 through 12 school. And so I got in touch with this Craig Arnold, and I was like, you can't be the same guy. And he was like, no. He said that led to a lot of confusion for a couple of years when he and the other Craig Arnold overlapped. But he invited me to the launch of his book, Made Flesh, where he had it at a bar in the Bowery and in New York City. I went with a friend who was into poetry, and we met him, and I had a nice chat with his parents, and it was a lovely evening. Unfortunately, Craig disappeared while hiking in Japan just a few months later. If you want the details, you can read his Wikipedia page because he does have one. But yeah, Made Flesh by Craig Arnold. Next up is a book with an awards stamp on the cover. So I grabbed one, but I didn't have my reading glasses on, so I'm not sure exactly what the award was that it won. Let's find out. The book is called Atlas of Vanishing Places, The Lost Worlds as They Were and As They Are Today by Travis L. Burrow. And the award is, holy smokes, hard to read. It is winner of the Edward Stanford Illustrated Book of the Year Award 2020. And it has more than one map in it. Continuity. I don't know her. I finished all my clips and was in the middle of downloading and organizing them, and I realized there was a prompt I forgot to do, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in the correct order. So all of the other ones I did, in the correct order. This one's a little discontinuous. I am going to put it where it should be according to the tags list, although not when I recorded it, and that's a lot of unnecessary behind-the-scenes detail, which will be the title of my memoir, Unnecessary Behind-the-Scenes Detail. And that was to find a book by an author with your initials. And now I have a bunch of different initials. I have my actual legal name, which is not Bargain Counter Argument, and it's not even Sock Marionette. But, Bargain Counter Argument, I tried BA for Bargain Argument with the idea that counter was like a middle name. Didn't really find anything. I tried BC, like the idea that counter argument is hyphenated, but didn't really find anything. So I went with Sock Marionette. And I have these 3 books. These are the Bare Knuckle Bastards series by Sarah McLean. And they are all step backs. So we are going to look at them. I'm going to just show them because who doesn't love step backs? Well, I'm sure there are some people who don't, but they can skip to the next prompt. Wicked and the Wallflower. The color is pink. And the clinch is, that's a bit of a clinch. Ooh. They're pretty advanced in that particular session. Brazen and the Beast. The color is turquoise. Aqua. Again, hubba hubba. Very nice. And finally, Daring and the Duke. The color is a yellow, which you don't necessarily see a lot, but it's nice and cheerful. And I just edited some stuff out that was for the best that it was gone. So yeah, I have these, and these are all from Say It With Me library sales. And actually, the first 2 books in the series are they're actually Deaccession library books. So these are from the, I believe, Durham Public Library. That's Durham, Connecticut, not the one in North Carolina. Not the big one everybody's heard of. Well, they did a pretty good job of obscuring their name, but they're the ones who use these kinds of heart stickers for their romance novels. So I'm pretty sure that's where I got those. Okay. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm now done filming. As far as you're concerned, there are still 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are still 5 prompts to go. If I've done my counting correctly. I didn't take off my socks, so I can really only count up to 10. And we're back. That was a longer break for me than the others have been because I had 14 clips to download off the phone, and I wanted to double check each one to make sure the quality was there, and to rename them so that I would be able to edit more easily, because of course the phone just names them with a string of numbers that don't really mean much to me. So I renamed them, and they're currently converting for editing. So future me will thank me. And it wasn't that hard to do, just a little time consuming. Okay, so now the next one is a book of short stories. And I actually have two books because they're two volumes of the same kind of a thing. We have volume 1 and volume 2 of the year's best science fiction, and this is for the year 2020. Found these at, say it with me, a library sale. Oh my goodness, I'm really creating more work for myself. I've got books that need to be sorted and shelved, and now I have books that have been cataloged, but I need to reshelve them. Okay, so pause. Okay, the next one is a book that is 500 to 510 pages long, and I have Bold Breathless Nights by Penelope Neri, which is 510 pages long. It starts on page 7 because of copyright pages and it actually starts, this is page 7, because of title page, copyright pages, and then it ends on page 510, and then there's another page of promotional materials for other books. So yeah, that would be 510 minus 9 is 501. So however you cut it, it's still between 500 and 510 pages long. This is a historical romance, in case you hadn't guessed. Look at that cover, isn't that nifty? That's raised and foiled. And it is set in, I believe it's set in 1067. I think it's right after the Norman invasion. And anyway, I used to have this book a very long time ago, in the early 90s. I had a copy of this book, which I never actually got around to reading, and then there were various moves, and so I got rid of it. And when I found it not too long ago at a used bookstore, I got it, and maybe this time I'll actually read it. Could be. Stranger things have happened. Okay, now we have a book that was turned into a movie, and not only do I have a book that was turned into a movie, I have the tie-in publication that was, with the cast on the cover. It's Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll, and you can see there's the cast on the cover and an exclusive poster inside. And the exclusive poster is just as fold out, and it's the same picture as this one, so whatever. But yeah, I haven't read this yet, but I will. Okay, the penultimate prompt, 19 out of 20, is a graphic novel. Now, I do not own any graphic novels because they're expensive. Rightfully so. The artists need to be compensated as well as the writers, and I think it's probably more expensive publication process. However, it's just too expensive for me for the amount of enjoyment I get out of them. But I do check them out from the library, and I swear I did not go to a library and check this book out to fulfill the prompt. I just already had it out. I haven't read it yet, which is an ongoing theme of this whole video, but I will pretty soon because it is a library book and they do want it back eventually. That's how that works. And that is Spa by Eric Svetoft, who I think is Swedish. I think it's been translated from Swedish. It tells me that it was translated by Melissa Bowers, but it doesn't say from what language. It's set somewhere in Northern Europe. Is, I think, a horror novel about a wellness retreat. So, looking forward to reading that. Only one more to go. And it's probably going to be something I haven't read yet, because that seems to be how I roll. Okay, so the 20th and last prompt took a little more doing than I expected, because as soon as I read the prompt, which is a book written by more than one author, I think they mean in collaboration as opposed to an anthology, but you make your own rules, why not? And as soon as I read it, I was like, oh, I know what I want to do for that. And it's a series, and I have book 1 and book 4. I think the main series is 5 books, but there are a lot of like 1.5 at 2.5, 2.6, and that kind of thing in it. And I had the first book, which I found, I think, at a library sale or a used bookstore a few months ago. And then yesterday, when I was out running around, I found another one at a library sale, which is the fourth book. So I need to read the first book and decide if I actually want to infill them or if I just want to, move them along. I think I'll probably like it. I've liked other works by these particular authors. And it is Christina Lauren, Beautiful Bastard, which is the first book in the series. And I found the fourth book, Beautiful Secret, yesterday. So I'm looking forward to getting into those. And that was, like I said, the last prompt. And I like that it was collaborative because I feel like book tag videos are collaborative. Somebody comes up with an idea and then other people execute it. Speaking of which, I'm not going to tag anybody in particular, but if you see this and you want to do it, I don't see why not. And if you do, just please tag me or leave a comment or something so that I will be able to check it out, which I would love to do. So yeah, if you like what I do here, feel free to subscribe, like, comment, share, or not. I am not the boss of you. And I hope you have a good day or night.